Hello, hello, hello. Happy Sunday. I think is it Sunday? It must be Sunday. And I think we're live. Yeah, we're live. I think. One of these days we're going to get it. So, how are you? If you're new here, we just do this chat thing on Sunday nights. Addie and Derek, I will argue, are the best moderators. Derek is currently homeless. Hopefully we can fix that. And when I say we, that's you and me, because we've got to scream real loud about this affordable housing crisis and homelessness. And Addie is formerly homeless. And I don't have any real show planned for us tonight. I just thought we should gather because, drum roll please, this is going to be one of the last East Coast live streams. I predict maybe 3 more tops. I got to get out of here. It's finally happening. If you are not aware, I moved back to take care of my mom. My mom passed away, and now I'm trying to relocate back to Los Angeles. It's not healthy for me here, but it is going to be... Let's talk about fear. I know let's talk about homelessness, but let's talk about fear. Fear of the change, fear of change. For me, I don't know how you are, but for me, it can be crippling. I consider myself lucky that I've always pushed through the fear most of the time. We have to be uncomfortable. I mean, we got to figure out a way to be comfortable when we are uncomfortable. So if you look at Mark Horvath from the very start, I mean, I have changed my life completely multiple times, crazy knucklehead kid, drug dealer, professional musician. I was a cook for a while, ended up working in television. Then I was homeless. Then I went back to working in television, but this time for churches and television evangelists. And then I started Invisible People, but I also started working in the homeless sector. Then I went back into executive marketing. And then I went back to Invisible People and caregiver of my mom. And each one of those was a complete change. And several of them included moving across the country. And, it's scary. And then you add getting older. So I'm going to be 61 soon. I'm 60 and a half. And you think of things different. I don't, in my 20s, I just go, that's only 2 years of my life. Well, at 60, I mean, I still have blood clots in my lungs, right? Every day is a gift right now. And I say all this to get to a point, and I didn't plan on talking about this, but as humans, many of us, and it can be at all different socioeconomic levels, allow fear of change to stop us. I mean, you could have an inheritance of millions of dollars and you're petrified of change, so you don't grow. You stay in your nice house and you don't experience life. Or you're living in a tent and you've been in this tent for a long time. You've grown used to a routine of where, you know, you go to take a shower, where you go to eat, when the cops come, and it gets familiar. So change going into housing can often be overwhelming. I mean, the fear of change is why so many individuals experiencing domestic violence stays with their abuser because they're scared of change. And I'm really talking to myself here because I am petrified. This house here, it's my mom's house. You can, oh, it's over here. Oh, I'm looking at a delay here. Oh my gosh, wrong screen. So over here, that's mom's Christmas tree. I don't have anything Christmassy ever. And this house and my mom and everything was my comfort zone. So this time when I moved to LA, I'm, you know, this whole season of my life is over. And oh my gosh, you know what? I forgot to hook up the right internet. It's skipping a little bit. I apologize. We're going to just get through the skipping a little bit. So as I'm talking to myself, hopefully somebody out there can relate, because whether it be a new job, leaving a job you hate, I have a bunch of friends that work at jobs they hate because they're providing for their family and they're scared to move. They're scared to take a risk. And I don't blame them. That's not a criticism. You know, feeding your family, putting your kids through college is important. In many ways, I'm lucky that I don't have any goldfish. And then there's times when I wish I had kids. So I'm about ready. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. I'm going to try to live stream like we normally do. I have so much to do, and the fear is paralyzing. What I did this time is I set myself up. I cannot, I mean, I can, but really I set myself up, so I have to move. Many of you have been on this live stream with me for over a year. I should have been out of this house a long time ago, but every time I move a couch or move a chair, I find a photo like my mom at 7 years old with puppies, and I get all emotional and I stop. And oh my gosh. As I've done this so many times, this seems to be the hardest. There'll probably be another one. Probably when I'm going into the nursing home will be another change. But I'm scared going back to Los Angeles. I'm scared. I rented like a room, right? it's a big room. Well, not really big. It's a room. And I'm grateful for that room. But my brain is tripping like, how am I going to put all my stuff in that little room? And I'm grateful I have that room. And, you know, my brain is tripping like, are you going to the right area? Are you going to make friends? Are you going to, you know, get healthy? Is this going to be, you know, so here's the trick. The brain can only think of one thing at a time. You can't think of two things. Try it. You can't. You can't. You can only think of one thing. So this is where thinking negative and thinking positive. And the human experience, we normally all think of negative first. It's just human. The fight or flight, they say, comes from our reptilian brain, you know, has us think of negative first. So for me, I have to fight that. So think of it. How many, we all have, you've walked on grass, right? And you walk enough and it creates a path, right? That becomes dirt. So think of your thinking process like that path that becomes dirt. So if you're thinking negative thoughts, you're going to create that path and think more negative thoughts. If you start thinking positive thoughts, the grass is going to grow over where it was all negative thoughts, and you'll start making a new path where there's positive thoughts. You're always going to have negative and positive thoughts. It's where you stay. Because for me, I'm scared. I am scared. Oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And if I stayed in that fear, I wouldn't move forward. So I have to train myself. I have to train my thinking into thinking positive. Now, I'm not one of these people that, hey, positive, positive, positive. You got to be positive. You got to be positive, positive, positive. No, if you bury toxic waste, it doesn't go away. You have to deal with negative emotions. I think we have to feel our emotions. The problem is when you stay negative is when it becomes a problem. So I didn't mean to do all that, and I know I'm being vulnerable and talking about, but I mean, this is the biggest leaving. So when my parents got divorced, my mom and I lived in the projects for a little while, and then she got an apartment in a city a couple places over, and then she married Clayton Jones, Casey Jones, my stepfather. And we moved into this house. I don't know how old I was. Probably 7th grade. And this has been home for all these years. And I'm going to walk away from it, never to come back. And that is scary to me. I mean, the amount of work that I have to do, and can I afford it? And can I, anyways, how are you doing? I didn't really mean to do all that. I was just, thought we would hang out and talk tonight. Since there's so few Sunday nights left of just us on this time zone, I figured that I didn't want to let any of them lapse. So I thought I would fire up the live stream and we'd hang out for a little while. So how's everybody doing? Thank you, Andy D, and thank you for your donation. Hey, dude. Yeah, I don't know what time zone we're going to land on when we get West Coast. Well, we're going to be in the West Coast time zone, but I don't know what time zone we're going to be at, or what time we're going to do live streams. We might even, if you guys are open to it, maybe doing a different day. Kateri, hopefully I pronounced your name right. Thank you for your kind words. Now, Photo, glad you're doing okay. Alberto, thank for the kind words. Walter's in the house and he can't find his meds. So, and we're going to try one of these neat features. Winston says, I wouldn't sell the house, keep it, renovate it, and still move to LA. It's an asset at the end of the day. But hey, that's me, and I'm not your financial advisor. And that's a very common thinking. And so I will, after the 08 crash, I went from homeless to homeowner. My dad helped me out with vitamins, right? I mean, I got help along the way from different organizations. Nobody goes from homeless to homeowner without help, but like nobody just went, oh, here's a 3-bedroom house with a pool in the backyard. No, I worked for that. And then I lost it in the 08 crash. And I was grown up to believe that a house is an asset. What I learned is, and you know, Winston, thank you for bringing this up, and it's fine if you are, you know, I don't have kids. I hope to find a future Mrs. Horvath, but right now I don't have nobody. So a house is a liability for me. A house, you have housing insurance, you have you know, utilities, you have all kinds of you got upkeep, and it's a liability. The amount of money that a house grows every year, now right now it's exceptional because of the housing market, but it hasn't grown. If you get a good stock in the stock market, and as Winston, I think it was, said, you're not a financial advisor. I'm definitely not a financial advisor. But if you invest wisely, you'll get a 15 to 20% return. You're not going to get that on a house unless you're buying something in Southern California that's going to explode, but you've got to have $2 million to put down. Anyways, the other thing people say is rent. Go and rent the house. Okay, in this market, I will probably get as much money as it would cost me to pay a property manager, because I got to move to Los Angeles. I still have to pay the taxes. I still have to pay the insurance. If the furnace goes out or a window break, in fact, tomorrow I got one of the neighborhood kids shot a BB through the window. So if I, you know, I got to replace that window, right? I don't want to spend that money, but I've got to spend that money. And so Vivian, townhomes have not really good resale value. If you're going to buy a home for an investment, you really need to buy a home, not a condo or a townhome. They're really challenging to sell. I'm sure there's probably some communities that they go like crazy, but My point is, and I get it, and your comment is valid because that's how we've been programmed, and a lot of people think that way. But for me, I need freedom. I need away from this house. If I'm going to detach, I have to just detach from it completely. I can't have it over to the side or connected to. And to be honest, if I rented it out, I wouldn't make any money. And it would be a headache, the furnace goes, or a couple times a year I get squirrels in the ceiling. I got to hire an exterminator, and it's not. So there, you guys, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kawasaki, he's the first person I saw that wrote about how a house is really liability. We've been programmed probably by the housing market. Buy a house, get a white picket fence, put your kids through college, be normal, right? We've probably been programmed to that, but a house is a liability. It's not an asset. Now, if I had kids and a wife, this is a great school district. It's safe. I would probably stay here. But since it's just me, no, I gotta cut it. I gotta cut my losses. It's not losses. I gotta cut my attachment. So Maria says, I predict Mark will live in his new LA home about 8 months until he finds something more spacious and is also affordable. Well, I hope you're right. However, I signed an extended lease because the only way that I could get the rent down to where I could afford it was signing an extended lease. So I know I'm going to be longer than 8 months or even 12 months. But thank you for having those positive thoughts. Like I said earlier, positive. Yeah, Matthew, Matthew just said, I consider renting out my mom's house after my mom passed away. I decided to sell it to not have the legal risks. I need peace of mind. And Winston, I don't. I'm glad you brought it up. I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on you for that comment. I know you meant well. Just for me, a house is not in my cards. Oh, Kokolokia 808, Hawaii. I take it you liked the movie. How many of you liked Mobile? Andy D, these squirrels are nasty. So Milk asked, do I really want kids? Well, at my age, I'm not going to, be the father of some kids, but I definitely could be the stepfather. There's a saying that, it takes a good man to raise kids. It takes a great man to raise somebody else's kids. Mustafa, any advice for a new homeless person? So I say this, in fact, one of our friends in the online support group, she is messaging me right before here. She has a veteran. She's homeless herself, but she was asking, any advice or where can we connect this veteran? And the truth is, homeless services is broken. I don't know where you live. I don't know where to connect you, but I can tell you this. It's broken, and it's not necessarily the nonprofit's fault. They don't have enough resources for all the need. There's also a lot of turnover and poor training and blah, 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 blah. What happens is you have to stay on it. You've got to call all the time. Even if they say, hey, there's no shelter beds or there's no housing, call us back in a month. Call them back in a week. Don't wait a month. Call them back in a week. Then call them every week. Still be nice about it, but stay on them. Email us next month. No, email them once a week. Stay on them. Stay on them. There's a saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Homeless services is broken. And you know what? When I started taking care of my mom, all social services is broken. Trying to find care for my mom was extremely hard, but it's the same thing. You just have to stay on it, stay on it, stay on it. Gene says, sell the house, then be satisfied, then go forward. That should be on a t-shirt. Great advice. Sabor, how are you? Asked how my trip to Veterans Row is. I'm going to try to get up one video this week. The Veterans Row really messed me. Great segue, because it's broken. Veterans Row is right outside the VA. So they have 400 acres, and there's 45 homeless people living right outside Veterans Row. And it messes me up. I mean, it shouldn't be like that. Shouldn't be at all. But thank you for asking. Walter is in a strange mood. Josh Pryor, thank you. Thank you for your kind words. I am going to butcher your name, so I'm not going to even try, but that you're going to start a safe parking is brilliant. Just a little sidebar. Again, like I said, don't give up. The safe parking in LA, the people approached the county government about the idea for 5 years, and they said no. They finally said yes. 5 years. 5 years. Then, of course, the politicians all start patting themselves on their back. Look at our great idea. No, it's not your idea. And for 5 years, you said no. You could have had this 5 years. I've been in meetings with churches and businesses and libraries and community people and synagogues, and everybody's saying, gosh, we really feel for all the homeless people. Use our parking lot? Oh no, we need that for Sunday morning. Oh no, you can't. No. And access to our bathrooms and showers? Oh, we feel for them, but no, they can't use our park. And I'm not joking. Almost in the same breath as we care about these people, they're also saying, no, we're not going to help. So again, don't give up. Rant incoming. Dano, do you know something I don't? Hey, Nancy in Mexico. Hello, I don't know what the time limit is. I just know that any homelessness, there's a lot of sleep deprivation because, we had a scene of a police officer. And we cut it just because the uniform, we couldn't rent a uniform with an official looking badge. And it just didn't look right. But the amount of time, you're being harassed from, neighbors to police to other homeless people, you don't get much sleep. Hey, Nero Trigger. I normally spend a lot of time in Canada every year, but they've closed the borders because of COVID. I do not know when I'll get a chance to go back. So I'm sorry, I don't have information. So Vivian says mobile showers are needed, and yes, they are. But if we got housing for everybody, we wouldn't have to do mobile showers. So Mando, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, says we need mental institutions to open up faster. Too many mental problems in the homeless community. So while I don't disagree with that, we do need more professional mental health facilities. Most mental illness, we can help just by getting somebody in housing. Let me repeat that. Most mental illness, when you're outside and you're going to the bathroom behind a dumpster every day, your mind starts going. Once we get people inside, many of the mental health challenges people experience start healing right away once you have dignity. How do you guys like the feature, Amy? How do you like this feature that I can put up the comments? Dead Milkman. So Amy passes the cool test. This is my shirt that I wear when sometimes I go out on the streets with hip organizations. And if they're aware of, Bitchin' Camaro, Punk Rock Girl. Well, Punk Rock Girl was a little bit commercial. Two days take. That's a good take. Sheila's in the house. Hi, Sheila. You might remember Sheila. She was in our live stream after the movie. So if Walter can find his meds, and I don't know if Walter has Wi-Fi, and if he would behave, because Walter has a behavior problem, just because he's ornery, just like me. I have a behavior. Maybe we should do a live stream from Walter's house. Walter's been trying to get me. You can see Walter's video on Invisible People. Walter's been trying to get me to visit his house, and right when COVID hit. So now I'm moving back and I'm going to go visit Walter. Maybe we'll do a live stream. What do you think about that? Big lizard in my Matthew passes the cool test too. Thank you, Sheila. You're very kind. Hello, I'm kind. I have stepsisters. Jay Hood, thank you, thank you. Lady T's in the house. So Lady T, oops, I clicked on the wrong one. Lady T likes the movie, wants us to do more. So the next one that Luciana is going to try to do, that we're going to try to do, is going to be on eviction. So a little bit behind the scenes. The reason that we did mobile first is mobile didn't cost a lot of money because we didn't have to pay locations, you park a car in a parking lot and roll camera real quick and drive away. Money saved, but to do other stories, it will take more money. Thank you, Malka. Mohammed, you're very kind too. Thank you. Andy Cap wants to know about my new place in LA. So first off, the place that I really wanted, they Googled me and found out that I was homeless 25 years ago. No, looks like you're eligible for a free trial. Do you want to get an email with more info? So my I don't even want to say a name because it's going to start talking again. So, hey, Google, be quiet. These speaker things. Anyways, the place I wanted, it was a dream place. It's going to bother me forever because I walk by it to go to my place that I got. Was great, but the owners Googled me and found out that I was once a drug addict and homeless 25 years ago. And so they turned away my application. And it was a dream place. So I had to settle. It's one room. It's downtown. I mean, there's a bathroom and there's a utility closet. And there's a wall thingy, but it's not much of a divider. And it is, so I'm 60 years old. I don't know if any of you been to downtown Los Angeles, but I've always wanted to live downtown. At 65, I don't see myself living downtown. And maybe I don't like it. Maybe I won't like it. I mean, it's a lot of USC students. So there's a historic core that I absolutely adore. And I didn't mean to rhyme there. There's a section of Los Angeles that these buildings were built in like 1911, and they're wonderful. Oh, they're so gorgeous. But back then, there was no cars. The Model T hadn't been invented yet. So there's no parking. Alexa, turn off living room. The house with the speakers. So I tried to hook all that up for mom. So my mom was disabled. Anyways, the historic core is where I really wanted to stay, and there were some wonderful deals, but I didn't want to park down the street. I'm 60, right? I'm not a young kid anymore. So I ended up in an area that's nice. I try to keep parts of my life private, and the parts that I keep private are where I sleep. And there's a reason for that is I have had stalkers. I mean, I've had one stalker that the Toronto police, Los Angeles sheriffs, and the Secret Service were involved. And there was a recent incident a couple weeks ago in Venice that I was a little scared about. It's funny. I've walked down the Venice boardwalk hundreds of times, never felt threatened by a homeless person, but the Venice locals, the nasty NIMBYs. So I don't talk a lot about where I sleep at night. So if it's public, like if I'm going to go to the mall or a ball game or Veterans Row or a homeless camp, I'll talk about it. But if it's someplace where for 8 or so hours, my eyes are closed and I'm laying horizontal, I'm vulnerable, I keep a little bit of privacy. But I'm excited. I mean, it's a big cultural change. That's, again, I started off talking about fear. I've never lived like this. And it's funny because my room is on the 4th floor of a probably 40-story building. It is got a wonderful balcony that looks out over roofs, right? The building that the apartment I wanted had this balcony that looked over downtown, and it was just wonderful. Oh my gosh, it was so gorgeous. But must not been. So yeah, Gene, it kind of sucks, I'm not one of these people that will quote scripture, or Bible, and reap what you sow really does, come back to you in ways that really suck. Because I am a good person. I wasn't always a good person, but I'm a good person. For the last 20 years, it probably took me 5 years to I lived in a homeless shelter for a long time, and it probably took me a while to get warmed up to being a good guy. But for the last 20 years or so, I've tried my hardest to do everything right, to make good decisions, to repair my credit, to fix mistakes that I've made, to try not to make new ones, to treat everybody with respect. And for whatever reason, these people just are very judgmental. So, it's the same thing as that. The application process is also you testing a landlord. And I don't know if I want a landlord that's going to be so judgmental against homeless people. There was another building that I looked at, an apartment, and right over the phone, the owner, because now with COVID, right, you go and you look at it without an escort, right? They tell you where the keys are and you go unlock and you look and then you put the keys back. So you do everything over the phone. And this landlord, she was definitely judgmental against homeless people. And I don't think I would have stayed there very long. Ooh, Enigma. I like that. I got to put that up. We must stop using housing as a commodity and start using housing as a necessity. Oops. So, Vivian, I agree. Rejection is part of life. There's even a saying, rejection is God's form of protection. But, I've had a rough bunch of years. And ever since I lost my house in the '08 crash, I don't feel like I've recovered. And for the first time, gosh, I'm going to get emotional. For the first time, I feel like I'm getting back to normal again. And it's okay. I think, they say expectation is a premature resentment. And, I was excited about this apartment. I deleted all the photos from my phone of the apartments I saw, except that one, because I liked it so much, right? Just wasn't meant to be. So I'm going to try a couple years downtown. Maybe I'll find a future Mrs. Horvath, and we'll end up in the suburbs, or I just get older and move to Pasadena. So Ken Chu said you want to explore bankruptcy. As somebody who once did bankruptcy a long time ago, I can tell you, unless you owe a lot of money, bankruptcy hurt me for a long time. I think that because I didn't owe a lot of money. I mean, I did. It was just not a huge amount. And I think I would have been better off making arrangements and paying it off than how it hurt me. Walter has Wi-Fi and he says he's going to clean up. Kitty, I am moving to Los Angeles. Authentic, you are spot on. Abby Wolf, thank you. Hopefully I said Abby right. Yeah, Matthew, I get it. It's all that matters. But you know how I talked about it earlier? If I was 20, I'd be like, so what? I signed a lease longer than a year. No worries, right? I'm locked into this, and maybe I don't like it. And it's not. So here's the thing, what I've learned about moving. And I've moved a couple of times. I've moved from New York to LA, from LA to Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, then back to LA. Then I moved to St. Louis, then back to LA. Then I moved to Syracuse, then back here to Binghamton, and now back to LA. It's really hard to rent an apartment far away. Let me back up a little bit. So I have a cell phone. I was able to get a rental car. I have 723 credit score. I have references from past landlords. I have good financial documents to show. And I was still turned down for an apartment. So can you imagine how hard it is for a homeless person or somebody with low or no income? Oh my gosh. Hello, I'm sorry. Yeah, I when the '08 crash hit. So I bought I'm single. So we were talking about earlier with Winston. I bought a house believing that it was going to be an asset and I was going to flip it in 4 years. So I bought a house in the perfect school neighborhood, right? Schools are, I did the research, it was a 3-bedroom house in a school that was sought after, the school district, so that in 4 years, the money would go up. I put in a new hardwood floor. I put in some other things. And the thinking was it's an asset and I'm going to make money off this. And the '08 crash hit and I lost my job. And then I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job at Walmart. I couldn't get a job at McDonald's. I couldn't get no places were hiring that would pay decent. So I lost the house. Now it was right at the beginning of the '08 crash. So people weren't yet saying the R word. I wish they were, because I would have just walked away. Instead, I went and paid all my bills on my credit card, because I thought, oh, this is only going to last a month or two, and then I'll get another good job, because I always work executive marketing. I've been very blessed in being able to make money. That was when I was younger. When you're 60, ageism comes into play. So, make a long story short, I ended up losing the house to foreclosure, and I had high credit card debt. I wish I'd just walked away instead of, because then when you lose a house to foreclosure, you lose all the money and it dings your credit. So now I had high credit card debt and, the ding on my credit. So love to have you in downtown LA. Elizabeth, very cool. Lady T, there's more to Southern California than fish tacos. So P. Wood, I'll bring this up. He's an architect. They can build houses rather quick, but they can't get the permission to build them. Very common. It's a mess. Holy smokes, guys! Wow, I'm so grateful. Wow, I'm so grateful. I just saw how much you guys, again, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. To who? You saw me? Please say, my last, and to who, it might have been my last day. Well, last day I went to Veterans Row, and the day before I went to Venice, where you probably saw me interviewing somebody. And what was interesting about that is I was talking to somebody else, a homeless man that was taking a shower. And that homeless man came up and said, "Hey, I love your YouTube channel." And so we started talking, and then I interviewed him. And then right after that, another homeless man came up, and, I got to tell you guys, right? So the chat room is filled. I doubt there's anybody from the homeless services sector. Maybe there is. Doubt it. It's mostly you guys are general public people and like formerly homeless and some homeless people. That's our family. The response to mobile was so positive and overwhelming from homeless people and from you guys. It was overwhelmingly positive. The response from the homeless sector, I think 2 people shared it, right? Hey, Rocky Pac-Man, I don't remember talking to a young kid in this car. Thank you, MJ. Oh, so Josh Pryor asked one of those, tricky questions. If you could provide housing. The emergency alerts are going off. Flash flood warnings. So it is raining like crazy here. We're in a safe area, but the yard is totally flooded. But Josh asked if you could provide housing for 10 people or lockers and refrigeration for 50 people, which would you choose? Housing ends homelessness. There's so many variables there, Josh. Like, are you talking permanent supportive housing for 10 people for the rest of their lives? Are you talking showers funded with lockers and refrigeration for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years? You got to give me some more valuable variables there. But I would always go with whatever will work towards housing the most people. So let me use an example. Thank you guys. You're wonderful. You donated $1,000 tonight. I didn't ask you for it. You just do it. I'm grateful. So people might say, well, you could use that money towards housing. Well, $1,000 would cover rent for maybe a month, but $1,000, I mean, we produce mobile really cheap. I won't tell you how cheap, but really cheap. And our next one is on eviction. So if mobile can go and inspire, the one woman said tonight she's going to start a safe parking place. If mobile can inspire 20, 30, 40 people to start safe parking programs to help cities and nonprofits push through safe parking programs, or help people that don't understand mobile homeless have a better understanding to show compassion, or what has blown me away, have you read the comments? The amount of homeless people living in their cars commenting about mobile validate that the movie is realistic. Sheila, who was in the chat earlier, and Headley and Levon and a couple other women helped us to make it as real as possible. So the point is, and this is where invisible people's work is so important, is we are to, if you got $100 million housing, if you've got $10,000, invest it in creating or pushing policy change to get that $100 million. Like the gentleman who is an architect said, they can build housing in 2 weeks, but they can't pass the laws, prevent them from getting the permits to make it happen. So if you take that $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever it is and push it towards advocacy to change the policy so the architects can build housing in 2 weeks, bam, that's a solution. Hopefully that all made sense. Kokolokia 808. Yeah, I mean, it's we've been programmed that a sandwich is going to end homelessness. We got to fix the reason people are hungry. If you've got billions of dollars, millions of dollars, build housing. right? If you don't have enough to build sustainable housing for people, invest that money into changing policies so that we can create more affordable housing. I mean, that's how we end homelessness, being smarter about what we do. Because, charity is important. People need food. People need clothes. People need a blanket so they don't freeze to death. People need socks. I give out all of those. I help feed people. I help, we do so much. I don't post it all. But we have to fix the reasons that we have to fix the social crises that create poverty. Nine 905-566-1140. Yes. I was 25 years ago. There is a link in the description, and the channel video is a documentary about my life that talks about my own homelessness. Okay, folks. So Mike says some states are providing grants to citizens that could be evicted. So this is very important. I'm going to put it up, Mike. An established plan with the state of varies, and that's the insanity. So what Mike is saying here is very true. If you know somebody that is at risk of being evicted, if you know somebody that's at risk of being evicted, there is support. The government, in all holy government ways, has money, and they're having trouble getting it to the states and then getting it to the people. So if you know somebody, or it could be you, that's at risk of being evicted, keep reaching out to different organizations, because there has never been help like there is help now. There is help to keep you in your apartment. There is help to keep you out of homelessness. You just got to find it. Oh, authentic. Authentic. Did I say that right? Oh, I'm sorry. And then you added, there's somebody. So, Muhammad, some people are not capable of working, and some people are not hireable, and some people, I can't teach. You want me to teach English? I can't read people's names. Oh my gosh. I would, if me teaching English as a second, I would love to, because there's opportunities to travel. It's not for me. So we can't go, well, there's this or that. And then, people are different. Everybody's different. To get a job, there has to be a job. To get a job and keep a job, the person needs to shower, have a good night's sleep, hopefully save up for first and last rent. Do you know how long that's going to take? So if you're working minimum wage and you are homeless, now remember, you can't refrigerate anything. So that means you have to go eat at McDonald's or In-N-Out or Burger King or wherever every single night. That's expensive. You have to buy a gym membership to take a shower, and you have to do bus passes. After you get paid, you're going to have a tiny bit left, if anything at all, to put towards first and last month's rent. And then you're going to do that for months and months and months. So Muhammad and everybody else, what we need to do is help people. Help people. See, I am no longer homeless because somebody helped me get out of homelessness. There's no way me or most everybody that is on the streets can go from the streets to employment. It just is not realistic or practical. But we can either help people or help organizations that help people get them out of homelessness. And Dante even said minimum wage isn't enough. Okay, folks. I am so grateful for all of you. I just thought we'd have a chat tonight, and we did. We had a great chat. Another Sunday night family. And there's 285 people on right now. I don't know how 5 o'clock. We'll see. Well, I don't know how I'm going to maintain this time on when I move to the West Coast. This is because it's in the middle of the day, right? Here, I can come home, set up the laptop, and then we go live. At 5 o'clock, I'm usually out in a veterans row in a tent camp or something. So we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. But thank you for spending another Sunday night. Thank you, Addie and Derek, for being the best moderators. Thank you all for sharing and saying nice stuff about mobile. Please share. The more you share mobile, the more people see it, the more awareness it gets, the more change we create. Thank you all that donated. Just so you know, so my sober birthday's coming up, and I'll be 26 years sober, and we'll probably do a fundraising marathon. So that is a fundraising live stream. This is not a fundraising live stream. I put it up there because you guys all do super chats, and YouTube takes 30% of a super chat. So I just add the fundraiser there. YouTube allowed nonprofits to do that. It's 100% pass through. So I am so grateful that you guys all support Invisible People. It's going to be a little rocky. I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to try to get to California as quickly as possible. It looks like many of you know I was supposed to do a road trip last year and then this year, and then but hopefully next year we will be road tripping. And those of you around the U.S., hopefully get to meet many of you. I got an email. Europe is finally opening. I will probably hope to get to the UK first part of next year, and Canada. I got to get up to Canada. But all this depends on travel, and travel is, especially international, is funded through third parties. Somebody hopefully will invite me. I really want to go to Prague, Czechoslovakia someday. I might take a vacation. And sometimes, you know what? I feel insecure sometimes saying that I'm going to take a vacation, but I went from homeless to homeowner, lost a home, been struggling for the last 14 years, 14 years, finally worked it back up, and lives change, lives get better. And that's life, up and down and up and down. And to continue with how I opened up the chat, I know for me, change scares me. I have to get used to being uncomfortable. I mean, I have to get used to, I messed it up the first time just like that. I have to get used to being comfortable in all the uncomfortableness. So Vagabond Road Trip says, who pays for all your travels and expenses? You said travel is funded by third parties, but you claimed over $500,000 in travel expenses on your timeline report. Hey, Vagabond, I did not claim $500,000 in travel expenses, but let's unpack that really quick since you brought it up. So travel, for instance, the Dallas is one. The stuff in Michigan is another. I get invited to go speak at an event, and they pay me to go speak at the event. And I take that money and I extend out a hotel stay and rent a car. So they're paying for the airfare. And then the money that they pay me, I go and still pay for hotel or whatever, so that I can travel along that particular area. That's how it's evolved. The travel, as far as our 990, actually goes on the same line item. So to give you a very real example, YouTube gave invisible people a bunch of money to go shoot and produce VR 180 in San Francisco. We did a tour of Derek's camp, among other videos. We had to stay in San Francisco for several weeks to produce that. YouTube gave us money for travel, but since we paid for it, it still goes on our line item. I have never, ever, except the very first time that I went to the UK, and that was funded by my mom and my stepsister, have I gone across the pond unless somebody has brought me there. So a charity, St. Mungo's, brought me to London, and then they had me go on trains throughout the UK. Oh, it's such a wonderful experience because I got to teach social media to people with learning disabilities. A marvelous experience, but it was all funded by third parties. Majority of our travel is funded by third parties. And you might say, wow, that's really cool. But here's the problem with that. So right now, there is a battle going on in Seattle. There's probably a battle going on in every city, but Seattle, there's something called Compassion Seattle, which is a campaign pushing for criminalization. They're trying to spin it as it's compassion. It's not. Police response is not compassionate at all. At all. I mean, but I would love to travel to Seattle with writers and producers and, to create mini documentaries or films and different things and to create content, to educate the public, to bring awareness and for advocacy so that we can create housing. I mean, there's been literally housing programs created from invisible people's work. So Crystal must be in Prague. Yaksamash. So the reason I said Prague was personal. So if I ever go to Prague, I mean, gosh, I wish a homeless services in Prague would pay me to come over. I don't ever see that happening. I'm going to have to save my pennies. I was adopted, but my earth parents my Earth grandparents. I mean, my Earth grandparents are from Czechoslovakia. And I've always wanted to visit. So that's why I said it. And Crystal, hopefully someday I will get to Czechoslovakia to visit. So my last name, it means Croatia. It has mass. And it's Hungarian. So Horvath in Hungary is like Jones here. And I would like to go visit someday. So I keynoted the Geneva Forum of Social Change, paid for by the Geneva Forum of Social Change. That's how I got to Switzerland. I can go on and on. The Canadian government had me go to 24 cities in Canada. It was a 4-month trip. It was amazing, paid for by the Canadian government. So that's what I mean by third parties. And hopefully you all kind of understand a lot of that still goes into our line items, even though somebody else is paying for it. So hopefully that. So Crystal, Vegas is, I used to do a lot of Vegas back when I lived in LA. Well, that's, Jason says about UK homelessness. The one St. Mungo's brought me over, they brought me over twice. They brought me over a bunch of times, but the two most important ones were the ones before and after the Olympics, because they wanted to show the public what effect the Olympics had on people sleeping rough. The big difference, and I think this is why important at Invisible People or There's Travel, is that I think it's important to compare. So the big difference between UK homelessness and American homelessness is healthcare. You don't see the severe mental illness. You don't see the people in wheelchairs like you do in the UK. Okay. David, I hope to get up to Edmonton again. Chemist, thank you. It's funny that the NIMBYs, people complain, they look up our 990s and they complain about travel, right? I've never gone to any place nice. I mean, when I go to London, I go to places where there's poverty. When I go to Edmonton, Canada, I go to places when there's poverty. I've never done anything touristy. I haven't taken a day off in months. And that's like, I work months straight. So when I travel, I work like 12-hour days every day. The most touristy thing I've ever done in the UK is eat fish and chips. It's not like a vacation. I'm there working to help end homelessness. They want to, oh my gosh, we're an international education-based nonprofit. We travel with film crews. We have writers. For the Canadian road trip, Delta Hotels, I think Delta was bought out by Marriott now. Delta Hotels gave us hotels free. And people are complaining, oh, you're staying in hotels and you're helping homeless people? Would you rather have me take up a shelter bed? Right? I lived in a shelter for 7 years. I paid my dues. And when a plumber a lawyer, a postman, a cook, any other demographic travels, they sleep in hotels. And get this, Delta gave me the free rooms and NIMBY still complained. They complained that okay, where are we? It is 9:20. So, well, I think it's important. People want to know, and I want to be transparent. And so when questions come up, I want to answer them to the best of my ability and be as transparent as possible. And, our taxes are online. I don't know how much more. We're governed by a board of directors. Our 990 is prepared by a CPA. And Carrie Fuller's in the house. When I'm trying to say goodbye, Carrie logs on. How can I do that? How can I? Hi, Carrie. Oh my gosh, I can really hear the rain. It is like pouring. I know Planet Walker, and I will get better at it. So, Painted Lady, I'm going to have to push back on that because you're probably talking about the two Americans that I interviewed in the UK, who one could get help because he was born in Poland and the other couldn't. And it's this, you all think that, stop watching Fox News. Dano said Rand's coming. Stop watching Fox News, right? Please. The people that are coming, they're not like, oh, let's go to Disneyland. They're fleeing for their life. They're risking their life. Added to that, they're doing jobs. They're doing jobs that you don't want to do. You totally shut down the border. Get ready to pay $20 for a head of lettuce because Americans ain't going to go out and pick lettuce or blueberries. You ain't. So stop your bitching. And this, right now there's billions and billions of dollars going into preventing homelessness. Billions. For the first time, billions are coming into preventing homeless people. But Fox News does this stuff about immigration, gets everybody upset. And, yes, Biden's paying so that kids at the border have a place to stay. That's humanity. We should be doing that. These are people. And just to know about Fox News and Biden might have been able to say it differently. What he was saying about the shot, the vaccine, was that if you needed it delivered to your house, we would come help you. That's all he was saying. And the friggin' religious right and the Fox News right have all turned it into, the Democrats want to come and invade your privacy and force you into having a vaccination. No, that is a lie. A lie. They're lying to you. Turn off Fox News. Turn off CNN too. but definitely don't watch Fox News. Whew. The immigration thing, you know, from time to time, somebody to really talk about there was 2 videos. I remember them like yesterday. Walking down by Victoria Station in London, 2 Americans. I interviewed them both. And I worked in Los Angeles, and I could not get help. There was a couple with newborn babies, twin babies. They're from Guatemala. And I didn't care if they were their mom and dad with babies. I wish I could, I mean, they're babies. And I could not get them help anyplace. So this lie, oh, if they're immigrants, they get help, is bullshit. That's bullshit that Fox News is putting in your brain, and get it out. These are human beings. And I eventually got them into a church because I couldn't get them any help. And why the interview of those 2 people in London, American, is so important is because it shows other countries are doing the same crap we do. Immigration is a challenge. I'm not saying that it's not. Immigration is a challenge in every city, in every city, in every country. There's got to be a better way of dealing with it. The last administration put kids in cages, for God's sake. The people that come to this channel and they complain, they're like, oh my gosh, immigrants are getting housing. Immigrants, no, they're not. Immigrants are not getting free housing. That is bullshit. Okay, 9:30. I went an extra half an hour. Got another rant for you, Dano. Kyle, yeah, and Trump separated the children and then put the kids in them. I mean, immigration has been a problem. What those 2 videos show, that when Americans go to another country, we don't get help. Why? Because we're Americans. We weren't born there. And what do we do for people from El Salvador? Well, they don't get help because they weren't born here. I don't talk about this much, but I'm a follower of Jesus, right? And I believe we got to take care of our neighbors, all of our neighbors, our homeless neighbors, our neighbors on the south of the border. We've got to help people. I watched a program on 60 Minutes tonight. Many of you know that I watch 60 Minutes before I do the live stream. It's my favorite show. And it was on Syria, and the atrocities of people being tortured. And it's not okay. It's not okay that we live in a world that allows horrible, horrible men to poke the eyes out of people, to torture them. It's not okay. And then people are fleeing Syria, fleeing, the wars, and, anyways, you guys get the idea. Stop watching Fox News. Just stop. Stop. Hey, it's not Mr. Beast. Woohoo! I'm getting closer to Mr. Beast. We got not Mr. Beast in the house. Anyways, everybody, see you next Sunday. Have a great week. Thank you, Addie. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, everybody that donated. Thank you, everybody that shared. Thank you, everybody that joins us on Sunday night. Carrie, show up earlier next time. And I just hope you all have a marvelous week, and I will see you next Sunday night.